In the birds, I did that once or twice. I had a girl seated in front of the schoolhouse smoking, and when she sits down, there's a child's play thing. I forget, jungle gym they call it. And there was one bird on it, you see. And I just put the camera on her and never showed what was going on behind until eventually she follows one bird through the sky. When she turns around, there's a mass of them. Now, you see, in the old technique, you would have cross-cut with the girl. Say, little does she know it, but the birds are gathering outside. But when she saw them, she tiptoed into the school, took the teacher to the window and indicated them. Never showed them. Then the teacher turned to the children and said, now you all go home, go down the street quietly. When I tell you to run, you run. From that moment, the children are herded toward the door of the schoolhouse, and I went straight to the birds and stayed with them and never moved them until suddenly you hear the patter of the feet, and all the birds went up. And somebody said to me afterwards, what happened to that shot of the children when they went down the steps out of the school? I said, there was none. They said, oh, there must have been, there must have been. So it was making the audience carry the thing in their mind, you see.
In terms of the traditional sort of old-time Griffith cross-cutting, I think the chase you did in number 17 still holds up superbly. Perhaps because it's mainly miniature, and I guess you had the chance to
plant it. Yes, you did. It was all made in miniature.
Those fantastic travelling shots of the car going under the bridge and the train moving forward at the same time, just incredible.
Yes, that was done by, you saw on the screen the rails and the roadway, and both train and Greyhound bus are coming toward you.
Green Line bus, please.
Green Line bus, yes. I was thinking of our American audience, you know. And they both come toward you, and suddenly you see the bus go across the front of the train, or what you think. And the camera whips back, and the train goes under a bridge, and the bus goes over the bridge.
What made you finally make the move to Hollywood? Because you always wanted to be the big Hollywood director, or because you'd done as much as you could in British film in that time?
Well, I was a #1 British director, but on the other hand, I noticed that Hollywood was, there was directors from all over Europe going there. So in a way, it was a challenge, actually, because there were no other British directors there. Except James Whale, I think, was the only one, but then he came from the theatre, you see.
Did you sort of have the outsized size of films like Rebecca and Foreign Correspondent imposed on you, or did you intend to make them that big and pretentious?
Well, the first picture intended was to be the Titanic. And I researched that considerably. In fact, the producer intended at the time to buy the Leviathan, which was awaiting the shipbreaker's offer. And he was going to have it towed round through the canal and sink it off Santa Monica, which was a prodigious job. I often think, you know, he would say, well, gone there it is, make the most of it. What do? You know, do a close-up of a Revitten dolly back, or put 8 cameras on it, and then the ship is sunk. And a white-faced electrician says, electricity wasn't on, no camera got it.
And it's kind of a derivation, perhaps, from that wonderful climactic dolly shot in Young and Innocent, which
is
the most elaborate shot you've ever done.
It is, yes. That was, well, there again, you see, it arose from the dialogue statement of an old man says to a young girl, he says, isn't it ridiculous sitting here among all these people looking for a man whose eyes blink?
Have you often felt that individual films of yours would be improved by your going back to them and working on them?
I don't think I would care to do that. In fact, I'll go further. I wished I didn't have to make them. You see, having worked with the writer on the design of the film, really the whole creative work is finished. All you have now is to wait and see it diminish, and find you only arrive with 60% of the original conception on the screen.
Have you ever thought of working as Lubitsch did occasionally by preparing the film yourself, a film like Desire or Royal Scandal, literally making the film yourself on paper, on the storyboard, and then handing it over to another director like Otto Preminger just to carry out orders for you? You wouldn't want to do that?
No.
So there is some fun. There is some fun for you in physically making it.
Well, there's some fun, and the need to get it right. I mean, you know, there's tempo involved, the size of image. Of course, storyboard will take care of that, providing that the other director adhered to the storyboard.
This may not be of much concern to you commercially, since your films are always shown, you know, theaters and TV and make a lot of money still for you, I'm sure. But it's, I don't think there's any one director whose films are used more in film schools to teach film technique. You can literally build a whole course around Hitchcock films, whereas with the obvious people like Eisenstein and Griffith, I think with 1 or 2 films you've done it. But I do know of a whole course that had been built just around your films, and the students learn a tremendous amount from them.
Well,
and they're entertained at the same time.
Yes, but the most important thing is that I am a Puritan and I am a believer in the visual. And that's what I think that schools should teach. And, you know, so often you hear of schools who send a pupil out with an 8mm camera and see what he comes back with. You know, how he observes. Well, that's only a part of the whole process. That's like being in an art school, and when you're sent out to sketch people sitting at a railroad terminal, that's the whole course, which it isn't at all. It's only a little tiny segment of the course. And I think that film schools should teach the history as much as anything from the beginning.
Well, it's interesting, most of the first-year students come back with films that look like Ingmar Bergman films. But by the second year, when they've really absorbed technique and style and history, they come back with Hitchcock films, which is rather nice, I think.
Yes, it is.